Hey, Sweet Mornings community. It's your short and sweet EA Danny, and I'm really excited for the guest that we have today, Sarah. And you're gonna have to. I should have asked you this beforehand, Sarah. I do not know how to pronounce the last part of your last name. I know it's Vander, and then fill in for me.
It's Vander Neut.
Van.
But a lot of times I just sign off as Vander Jacket, which is kind of a blur between my business and my name, but there you go.
I love that. Thank you for enlightening me, and now I remember that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I have a question for you really quick before we get into it.
Yeah.
You run as that's how we first connected.
Yes.
So let's say we're running. Are you a hydration vest or a belt girl?
Mm. I like a vest if it's long, if we're going long. Like if it's
Okay.
gonna be, if it's more than 13, I'll put on a vest with some water at least in there, or maybe some scratch labs. They're like a bolder nutrition drink, so that keeps me going.
All right. You're staying local. I staying within the state. I love that.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask if you have honey stinger,
Mm,
martin, or huma in your vest.
good call. I always do a stroke waffle from Honey Stinger. I love, actually, I think it's like a nice little treat when you're out there. It's like having a dessert. But then also they're so flat that it's like easy to slip in to a pocket. I mean, a gel would be too, but this is the way my mind thinks. It's like, oh, the perfect shape of a pocket. So,
Yes, I
yeah.
was gonna say, I love the way you think. So when Brian and I first met, Brian was more of a road runner, I was more of a trail runner, and he was putting gels in his belt, and he goes, "Do you want any?" And I was literally putting a tube of donuts in my belt, like the ones you get from the convenience store.
Yeah.
Got all, like, smashed in the tube and everything. I was like, "No, I'm fine with this," right? You just open it and and he must have thought I was nuts, but he stayed. So
Okay, I love that for so many reasons, Danny. My first date with my husband was running, and he brought me like a Gatorade. And at the time, I was going through this like no sugar, no dyes, like very strict, kind of like fast, so that I could figure out a few things going on with me. And
Mm.
I just felt so bad that he like went to the trouble to think of like, oh, I'm bringing this, and I was like, no, absolutely not. And I didn't want him to think that I was like real uptight, but of course it seemed like that. And anyway, running is a great date, isn't it?
It takes so much of the pressure off. You're gonna mostly be in a good mood because you got endorphins going, to quote Legally Blonde. And
Totally.
so,
Yes.
yeah, it was a great first date, it was a great second date, and then we said, "Well, for the 3rd date, we should probably wear something other than running clothes." So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
went out to the Frisco Star, and it was great.
Oh,
So, yeah, that's a nice way of just kinda introducing the community into that a little of your background. You are a runner,
yeah.
and you are the entrepreneur behind Vander Jacket.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for having me, Danny. It's been fun to know you. We met, I think, first connected over a podcast that we both listened to as runners, the Big Ash Runner, which is no
Mhm.
more, but they had a great community. And I think that was probably our first time that we intersected. So,
It was, and you are already on the same page that I am because on the drive over, I was thinking this feels like such a full circle moment because, yes, we met via Big Ass Runner, and I remember them asking you because 'cause I'd ordered a custom vest, and I unboxed it in live, and they brought that up when they were talking to you, and you said that you were so nervous because what if I hated it? And I remember thinking when I heard it, I was like, "How could I hate it? I helped design it
mhm.
with you. You sent me these amazing drawings along the way," and it just it came out so beautiful, and it's still I mean, every winter when I get to wear it, it just brings me so much joy because I mean, it's a custom piece, it has a whale on it, and so, it is one of my favorite pieces, but To quote my daughter, when she was stealing my hoodies as a 6-year-old, she said, "Well, mom, these are full of your love." And I mean, how could I say, "No, you can't take my hoodie now," right? And so when I wear one of your pieces,
Mm.
it it does, you feel that this was just made with love.
Oh,
And so Sarah, tell us how you got started.
yeah.
No, I actually, whenever I meet an artist, because at heart, I feel you're an artist.
Hmm.
Were you drawing at a young age? Were you experimenting with different pieces of doll clothes? Like, where did that love first begin?
Totally. Yeah, so from early age, I loved just like experimenting. I did love dolls. Like I love dressing dolls. Um, but my dad, he ran for Nike professionally. And then my
Wow.
mom, she was a 4-H sewing teacher, like my 4-H sewing teacher. So it was kind of like the perfect marriage of like the two things that I'm doing now. So I was always around like the running community as a very little girl, and it was kind of like the retro running community in Oregon. And then my mom teaching me how to sew. I was more artistic. I wasn't so sure that running was a good idea. Like for most of my life, well, not most of my life, most of my childhood, I would see my dad compete, and he would obviously be spent. He was a road runner, and he was a marathoner, and when you're a little girl, when you see your dad finish a race and he's given it everything, it seems like, why does he do this? What is he doing with his
Yeah.
life? Is this a good idea? But yeah, to your point, I love doll clothes. We watched a lot of old movies growing up, and I loved like costume design. There was an old show that we would watch called Lawrence Welk, and it was like a variety show on Saturday nights on public broadcasting, and people would just wear these like vintage like gowns, and they were over the top, but it was inspirational to me. And I grew up in, kind of a smallish town in Oregon. And so, like, I wasn't exposed to fashion a lot, but what I was exposed to, like, I really took in, like, intensely. And I've always loved fashion. And then when I started running in high school, appreciating sports fashion and like functional clothes really came to me at that
Yeah.
time. And I think what you said about running in the clothes that I've made, like the hoodie that you ordered for me, it's a hoodie vest with a whale on it. And it's wonderful to make clothes that mean something to people. And I think we need more of that. Um, and also, I think it's kind of typical for runners to think, oh, like my running clothes or the time I spend running, that's not my real life. And then like I put my clothes back on and I get back to my real life, or I
Mhm.
get back to my work or whatever. And running does count as your real life. It's a part of who you are. And I think people are changing their thinking about that. And
Mhm.
obviously, athleisure's really big. But to make running clothes even more meaningful, like something you could have that was one of a kind, something that you would cherish, something that you would run in, and it would be like it would bring back the memories of a race that really challenged you or where you overcame something. That's the kind of thing that I want to wear. And it's also the kind of thing, like you said, like that your daughter would want to wear because they see the meaning in it and they see you in it. And like that makes clothing really special. Yeah.
Mm. Oh my gosh, it just, w warm and fuzzy inside. So, you hit on an interesting point. You talked about, running clothing being functional, and you bring the knowledge of, what runners would like or what we need when we're wearing a piece, and I'm actually, if you're watching the YouTube episode, you can see I'm wearing a Vander jacket, and, it's actually the jacket, right? I bought 2 vests before I actually got a jacket, and I feel that's just more of a Texas thing, but it has, thumb holes, and it has, a spot here where your watch can shine through or your watch can peek through when you're running in the cold, and that's it's annoying when you're running and you wanna check your pace and you're just constantly pulling up your sleeve, and so when you were first starting, was that just something immediately, you knew that you had to incorporate all this, or did your jackets did they evolve over
Oh, they evolved for sure.
Mhm.
I think because even though I would have wanted to make a watch hole, I think from the beginning, just my skill level wasn't there. And so like I grew as a designer. Um, the first time I started making running jackets, I was pregnant with my first daughter and running through the winter in Colorado and just got to be a body shape where nothing fit me. And my husband had like a Quicksilver hoodie that was like 20 years old and weighed like 40 pounds. And it was like the thing I could wear that would fit, but it was so heavy. Yeah. And it was cold, and so I made a few like running jackets that I could run in. But they were like a pullover. I was really afraid of doing zippers. I was really afraid of um uh well, actually just doing zippers. That really scared me. So at first my jackets were just like hoodies, like pullovers. But then I developed them more, and um I think like I've had a few long runs early on where I just, your mind wanders and you're kind of bored and you're out there running and you're just thinking about
Mhm.
whatever. And I
Yes.
decided to dedicate like a run to what would I want in a jacket and like really think that through. What would I want? And
Yeah.
really after one run, it was long, and so I had the time to really think about it. And it was like, well, I could put my finger on, I really want deep pockets, and I really want watch holes on both sides. I'd really like a hood. I'd really like a back pocket. Um, and also, my hands kind of seize up in the winter when I'm cold, and I'm running.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's a actual name for it, like Raynaud's syndrome. Um,
Okay.
and your hands just get really cold, and you can't work a zipper. And so I knew I I want to make a jacket where I could just slip my hand in and grab the stroke waffle or my phone without having to work a zipper, because that was a challenge when it got really cold and I was running through the winter. Because I'm always an outdoor runner. I love the view and I love the feedback of like running on a surface that's moving, and
Mhm.
um, so I really try to get out there, but you have to dress for it. So function is so key, of course.
Yes, and when you spoke to, when you first began and skill level, that resonated so much because sometimes well, a lot of times, when I start something, if it gets too hard, I'm like, "I don't wanna do this anymore." I give up, and it's a new year, it's 2026, January, so everyone I feel is motivated right now to take on the world, but my word of the year is faithful, and I came to that word because I heard on another podcast that if you wanna be successful, you need to stop breaking promises that you make to yourself, and I said, "Okay." So the endeavors that I have going on, I'm gonna see them through, no matter how hard it gets. And so when you spoke to growing and skill level, can we spend a few minutes here on that? Can we, double click on that? How did you manage to grow your skill level in fashion?
Mm, yeah. Well, I can say a few things on that. I think,
Please.
yeah, there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of failure. And I think it's really hard in the moment to not see it as a waste. It feels wasteful to spend time on something and resources and the fabric in my case. to cut into a fabric that I love and mess it all up to the point where
Oh,
I know, it just kills me. To mess it up to the point where it's like, I don't want anyone wearing this. Like, this is not good for me, and it's not good for anyone. Um, that it's a challenge, and I think mentally you have to push past it and just really play a long game. Like you said, to be faithful. Um, that's a mind shift where you're thinking, yes, I failed at this little battle, but I made progress in the long run. Yes, today I don't have anything to show for it at the end of the day except the experience that it didn't work the way I did it this way. And that is actually, I mean, that's a win. That's a win, if you're playing a long game. And so I do think that having that perspective of I'm in it for the long run, I'm in it not for today, but for where I'm going. Yeah, we need those reminders because it feels so much better to like have something to show for your work day at the end of the day. So I had so many failures of sewing and so much experimentation. Um, and I do get a kick out of the little successes. Like I do enjoy figuring out sculpturally how things work together as clothing, as art
mhm.
pieces. And I think there's so much fulfillment from another human basically wearing the artwork that I make, that I design. So yeah, I think too often we move past a victory and we go, oh, thanks. We take a compliment and we kind of brush it off. And I think to slow down and really think about how that person didn't have to say that or they didn't have to write that email and they really liked what I made. Like, you do need to spend time enjoying the feedback that you get from people. So that was
Celebrating those
definitely
small
helpful.
wins.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Definitely. Um,
You
yeah.
Yeah. So no,
So,
I know. I just wanna talk to you about everything. And
yeah.
when you decided to go full force and go make Vander Jacket your livelihood and your purpose, your why, just everything, did you decide to go on your entrepreneur journey just feet first, take that leap of faith? Or was it something that you needed to sit back, mull over, you had a day job and, work through a few things before you decided to launch Vander Jacket?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I have to kind of reach back and think about my motivation when I started. I think so. I'm married to a teacher, and I think our worldview really mattered. It really helped me make the choice because um, my teacher husband is a very consistent person who he was working the same job when I met him and we started dating as he is today. We've been married for 17 years. He's been a teacher at the same school for 22 years, and he's not that old. He's a couple years older than me. He's just very content and very stable. And because of that, I felt the freedom to stay home with my kids when we had kids. Um, and at the same time, the what was gained by me going to work and paying for childcare, it was like kind of a wash. And so financially, it just seemed like, wow, I think I could keep my kids at home for basically the same amount of money. Like we wouldn't gain very much by me going to work. I have a teaching degree in art, and I was an art teacher for a year before I was pregnant, and then so we just decided like we'll keep the kids at home. Like I'll teach them, and it turned out that they were really good sleepers, and I'm really type A, and so like I had a lot of time to um, like start a business, as crazy as that sounds. And then what happened was, um, I think the energy and the momentum I had early on, because I was so excited to be making clothes that people were using and buying in small amounts, I did just kind of jump in. And, yeah, so I'm not sure if that was an impulsive thing or if it was super thought out, but it just seemed to kind of make sense at the time. Um, but I I had a lot of, I guess, naive confidence that I could run a business, just based on like common sense. But I don't have a business degree, and I absolutely think a business degree would be helpful. A marketing degree would be helpful. Like it is a steep learning curve, and I had to learn a lot, learn about taxes and everything. But
I
a
am in the midst of that.
Oh, and that is obviously a full-time job. So, um, but I think there were some happy coincidences. Like when I started Vander Jacket, Instagram was really just gaining steam, like gaining momentum and followers. And I jumped on that bandwagon pretty quick. I have an art degree, and then I tacked on a teaching credential at the end of my education. And so like Instagram was kind of like low hanging fruit at the time. It just felt like, oh yeah, I'm good at this. Like I have an art degree. Um, and so that was helpful. And then also at the same time, the ability to take a payment on your phone with a
Mhm.
square, the little square chips that would like
Yeah.
attached to a phone. That technology was new. And so it kind of made it possible for me to imagine like going to running races and going to local markets and selling clothes that I made. And if those two technological advancements hadn't happened at the same time, I don't think I could have imagined it working. So that was helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You speak to being kinda in the right place at the right time, and that's such an I said it's not a new concept, but it's something that I've heard before, right? Like, being you need to be prepared because you don't know when that moment is going to strike, and so you started in Colorado, but we actually met in person in Dallas. When were you able to take the company from, just local and you were able to go to these bigger race expos?
Yeah. Well, we tried a lot of local races. It's obviously cheaper to focus your business locally before you kind of expand. And
Mhm.
I think what happened was we had people who um, suggested coming to Dallas, and they knew people who owned running stores. And I think just being a listener, honestly, like when somebody says, I have an idea for you, and they say, and then they go off, it's easy to kind of like nod and smile and like let that idea go. But I try to like really listen to what people are saying because I don't feel like they have to say, I think you would do well at, in Dallas. I don't think they need to stop and tell you that. And when people share an idea, that's good. That's a good resource, and you should take people seriously. And so I think it was kind of like that combination of like um, we. I met enough people from Texas who said like I think these would do well in Texas, and I was kind of surprised because it's a different climate, for runners. I didn't know how that would go. But there really is a Texas Colorado connection. And like I feel like a lot of Texans have an affinity for Colorado and vice versa. I feel like there's a connection there. And so I just tried to listen to what people were saying. So when we looked at different races we could go to, there were practical reasons like well, Southwest flies to Dallas pretty easily
Yes,
from Denver,
yes.
and we can check our inventory. At the time, Southwest bags were free, and it would be easy to go there. And then also, like, people, at the Dallas Marathon were friendly, and they liked the idea of having us, and they welcomed us. And so there were practical reasons, but also just, I think, taking people seriously. Your customers have a lot to say to you in terms of like creative ideas. And yeah, I think it's worthwhile to write them down and maybe come back to them and think about them. So,
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That like I like to tell guests, that's gonna be the reel, that's gonna be the YouTube short, that's the takeaway, right? Like, that's why we're sitting and talking with you because you have walked the walk and now you're talking the talk. So tell us a little bit about Vander Jacket itself.
yeah, so I design the running apparel on our online store, and all of the construction, the clothing construction of Vander Jacket apparel is done in Denver. And additionally, we use deadstock fabric. So it's basically leftover fabric from bigger companies.
Okay.
There are enough athletic apparel companies in Colorado where we can find remnants that they don't have a purpose for anymore. And we use those fabrics uh, in my running designs, in my running apparel designs. So, for example, like a bigger company, maybe they have a collection of spandex leggings they want to make, and they bring in 50 rolls of like Italian black spandex, and it's wonderful quality. This is real, by the way. Um, and they end up only using 40 because for whatever reason, like they were being conservative, they brought in more than they needed into the area. Um, but then once they made that collection, the company goes under or they pivot and make other things. So then there are these random rolls of fabric that they have on hand, which they don't need. And that's kind of like, that's our gem, that's our treasure. And um, just through word of mouth, I'm kind of scrappy. Sometimes
Uh-huh.
it's been Craigslist, sometimes it's been, again, a friend of a friend or somebody says something to me. We'll get that dead stock fabric and make our collection from it. A lot of times I will take a fabric, and if it's an athletic fabric, I just kind of go, okay, what would be good for a runner? What could I make out of this?
Yeah.
And that drives the design. Um, and so at this point, Vander Jacket has a men's collection, a women's collection. We do jackets, vests, pants, running shorts. We do runner tanks that are popular, windbreakers, and they're all limited edition because once dead stock fabric is used up, like there's almost no hope we're going to get that fabric back. And so it makes our collections really small and really unique. And I sew still, even though I'm the business owner, I'm sewing because that's what I want to be doing. I want to be designing. So that's our company.
Why did you make the choice though to use dead stock fabric?
Mhm.
Now it's a term that I know.
I know.
You could have gone like, you could have gone to fabric manufacturers yourself and get a design that you wanted rather than working with what was available, with secondhand. Why was it important to you to do that?
Yeah. Honestly, I wish I could say like this was very thought out, and I've always been so in touch with sustainability even before everyone. But I mean, that's not the case. When I started making running jackets, I just didn't know how to get like fabric in bulk. I didn't know how to get uh, fabric that was like a good wholesale price. And in the Denver area, there are two thrift store chains, and one chain sends all the fabric that's donated to a rag factory, and the other chain will sell the fabric in the
Mhm.
thrift store. And so I would always source my fabric at this specific chain of thrift stores. And I used to be in the first couple of years of Vander Jacket, I would think, no, this fabric will run out one day. Like I won't be able to find it anymore. I won't be able to find interesting fabrics that I can make running clothes with. And that is, it has not really been the case. I still sometimes shop at thrift stores to get like a special color or something that I'm looking for, a fabric, but we have grown. And so um, at first, what started as like, I don't know what else to do. My knowledge is limited. This is what I have. This is where I know how to, this is where I find it. That's all I know. And so I'm going to get my resource over here. It's grown to being a mission. It's grown to
Mhm.
being, I want to only use dead stock fabric because I've seen how having that limitation is what makes us uh, especially unique in the runner space. I mean, there's dead stock high fashion that is really coming on strong, especially in 2026. I think we're really going to see more and more of that. And people are going to understand that language, what that means. But in the runner community, like running apparel, that is not happening so much. I haven't encountered another company that uses dead stock fabric exclusively. Although I've encountered big companies that are, everyone would recognize, like the North Face, Melanzana, who we partner with, who they have started giving their dead stock fabric to smaller manufacturers. So, like, there's a growing knowledge. And again, I think the timing was right when I started my company and being limited by what I knew and how I knew to get my resources, that has like pushed me to become innovative and creative with what I make and how our company has evolved. So, yeah.
That's an amazing story. I had no idea. Again, speaks to your entrepreneurial journey of this isn't this I mean, this is a challenge. How am I gonna overcome the creativity behind it? That's why we sit and we talk with entrepreneurs, and it just every time I'm motivated and just like, "Okay, yes, whatever challenge I'm facing in my own journey, I can overcome." And, you just inspired me.
Danny, and I have to just point out to our viewers what you're wearing. It's just like a perfect example. I mean, I remember buying these fabrics for this jacket, and I love, 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 like kind of like the trippy psychedelic pink, green, white, black on the front that's all swirly, which is like it's a retro piece of fabric, but at the same time, like it's become so modern, like it's so current with you sitting there wearing it. It's like it's perfect for today. And I love that dead stock. It's not just like quilting and patchwork, but it can be something really functional that you could sweat in, that you could run 20 miles in. Just that gets me so excited.
It speaks to your why, right? Like, how do you manage when, when I sit and speak with entrepreneurs, some every time, there are moments where you're just second guessing and wondering, should I go back to a corporate job? Things are rough. Is this, just a downswing? Do I just ride the wave? Do I give up? And they don't, and there's success on the other side, but it's challenging in that time to have faith, to have hope. Where do you go when you're riding that wave, when you're seeing yourself through those challenging times?
Well, I definitely talk to my husband. I think it's good to have people in your corner. Doesn't have to be a romantic partner, but just a friend who will kind of lift you up. Because it does get hard and it's tiring. And you're wondering, I mean, I've had this where you wonder, is this the right path because I'm not sure I'm seeing things clearly. And I think at those moments, reach out to people, ask them your questions, be honest, reach out to friends, ask them, am I seeing this correctly? Is this how you see our company? Have those coffee dates with different people who you think might have something to say. Or I would say reach out to people who you vaguely know and respect, like this person over here who has a business and they seem to be doing well. Like, I think there is camaraderie between entrepreneurs, and sometimes um, getting together is so helpful, just to hear what another entrepreneur will say, because being the person who makes all the decisions all the time, there is decision fatigue and it's real. And being an entrepreneur is very lonely. And so I think when people reach out and say, can you sit with me for coffee and I just want to ask you a few questions about my business. I have never had anyone um, not spend time with me when I've asked specifically. Um, People are very generous, and it's possible that maybe who you reach out to could be busy, but come back to them because it I do think there's wisdom in the collective, and it's helpful to have somebody in your corner who you can always go to cheer you up. My husband, I would say, is he doesn't have a business mind, but he's my go-to for cheering me up. There's a role for that. Like, find someone who will cheer you up, and then find those professionals who could maybe put their eyes on your business for an hour over coffee and just share a few thoughts. Both are really helpful. So,
Yes,
yes.
I it's so true when there are times when I actually just heard this story yesterday. My executive is or was a basketball referee, and he told this story how when he was refereeing and you have 2 6'8" guys rushing at you and there something happened, you need to make a call, and you have people in the stands yelling at you saying, "Why didn't you see that? Like, it was right in front of you." And he goes, "Well, that's why I didn't see it, because it was right in front of me and I had these 2 guys rushing at me, and
Yeah.
you can see better when you're in the stands, right?"
Mm.
And so that's such an amazing that's another, it's another reel
Yep, for sure.
where it's so true. Different like, you have these different people that have their different roles,
Mhm.
and it is important to speak to other business owners who can see what's going on because you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, 100% true. Thank you for sharing that. So before we let you go, Sarah, we like to offer practical takeaways. You've offered us so many, but we'd love to know what you're reading, what you're listening to, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, I don't mind. I started a really good marketing book, and I first have to say, it's my first. I'm not. I should probably read more marketing books, but this book is called "Good is the New Cool,"
I've
and
never heard of it.
yeah, and it's about um, the desire that especially Generation Z and millennials have to um, vote with their dollar and to buy um, products that do have a cause and do support charities and nonprofits. And we're at a time where you could shop for like everything you normally shop for. You could choose to buy something that is also supporting a charity. And so I've just started, but it's been excellent. So I would recommend, especially if you are a business that like offers a product or a service. I would definitely read that. It gets to the heart of like, why do you do what you do? And I just think everyone can benefit from that. So, yeah, I'd recommend that. I'm kind of a history buff too, so the I'm reading a theological book that Catherine Parr wrote, and she is
Okay.
She's the final wife of King Henry VIII and the only one who survived him. Um, and so she wrote, and it's real skinny. It's a real skinny book, but and it was in Old English. It's been recently translated, and I just find it fascinating because I love history. So yeah.
Important reminder to read things that we love as well. I think sometimes, you know, we'll read something just because we enjoy it, enjoy reading, I enjoy reading Christian romance. You get the heart of the story without a lot of the extra. But I love reading for personal growth as well. I mean,
Really,
each serves their purpose.
yeah,
And, to go back to what you were saying about Gen Z spending, voting, kind of speaking up with their dollars, right? They'll support a cause. I'm studying for my master's in strategic communications, and we talk about that every class that I've had, how important it is to Gen Z to support a brand that also has a social cause attached to it.
yeah. Danny,
Um,
that's amazing. I'm so glad you're studying that. I feel like because you have a heart of gold, like you're the perfect storyteller, and you're gonna be so good at that. So, yeah, you get it, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That I now know who I have on my list for hype woman. Thank you very much. So, Sarah, again, I know as an EA serving, entrepreneurs or executives, time is your most valuable resource. Time is everyone's most valuable resource, but I've seen, I've been in it with executives, and so that you've sat down and you've spoken with the community and just shared your heart with us. We are so appreciative. I'm appreciative. Thank you again. And I'm going to put in the show notes where we can find you on Instagram and other places online, Vander Jacket as well. If anyone is interested in looking, you have, I don't, if you're listening to this episode in October, this does not apply, but right now there is a sale going on.
that is true. Going on as of yesterday, our January clearance. So, Danny, thank you. Thanks for asking me. It's always so fun to spend time with you, and I'm glad we've met in person and now again. Thank you.